the interview without mentioning the centerfold. How did it feel to be in the newspaper?
Oh my god.
Insane.
It was incredible. For me, what was so like insane about it was just the turnover. Like I literally had breakfast and in that time missed all the messages about us going, we need to find pictures because we're in a newspaper. And so suddenly I was like scrolling through all these messages I'd missed, like, wait, what? And then the next day suddenly we're in a newspaper. It was
Especially being the centerfold.
I know, it was great. Right next to Bryan Cranston. Do you know how happy that
I
was?
saw that. I was like 5 minutes with Bryan Cranston. That's the perfect page to be on.
I know. Yeah, it was insane. Like I woke up at like 7:30 and I was like, I need to go buy newspapers. And I showed up to Co-op and I had like 3. And the guy was like, why are you buying 3? I was like, because my theatre company is in it for the first time. And he clearly didn't like really care about it. But I was like,
So this is the second year you've done it. I went to see the first one and you had the fire alarm go off, which was iconic. And now that's happening. So how's it been the move on to online?
I think it's actually been really seamless, but surprisingly I think we've adapted to the digital space really, really well. And it's actually been really interesting. I feel like the whole thing has been we haven't been making work in spite of being online. We've been making work that is online.
It felt like a seamless transition from one potluck to the next, but I think it's because we did lots of things online. As soon as lockdown happened, we were trying different things, Tablespoon Tuesdays, all that. So we've kind of, had those sort of teething problems ironed out a little bit. So by the time we got to do the Potluck Festival online, we were kind of like, right, this is how we do online stuff. This is how we do call outs. This is how it's going to work. And it's been, touch wood, 1 month left, but it's been just a pleasure to work on.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really has.
And I think we never actually stopped. Like, when the pandemic first started, there was never a moment where we were like, oh, maybe we should just stop. Like, we just carried on straight away. We were like, oh, what can we do to, just still make theatre and, still be out there and still collaborate with people.
But how did you come up with Potluck in the first place? So 2 years ago, what started that? Like the name?
We were like trying to come up with like a pinch, a handful, like to kind of play into that kitsch theme. And then we kind of thought, because it was not us who were making the content as such, it was other people bringing in plays to us and we were sort of facilitating. It was more like a potluck dinner where everyone was going to bring their own dishes. And that was kind of how we got to the name.
What was the casting call like?
Oh God, that was such a big moment for us. We put some call outs out like for any ideas or proposals. It didn't have to be anything finished. And there was like a moment where we were like expecting like 2, 3, and
honestly I would have been happy with 10.
Yeah, something like that. And for the first 2 weeks it was kind of like, oh great, we've got like 5. Oh great, we've got like 15. And we were like, yeah. And then it blew
up. Like we like kept refreshing the page and there was like more submissions and we got to like 52 and we were like, how are we gonna handle all of this? We're not ready. We don't really have the facilities to deal with so many people and so many submissions. It was insane.
And I think from that we springboarded doing interviews, which we'd never done before. It was really, really nice getting to speak to so many different people and talk to people. And I think again that's another thing about being digital. We are now in contact with people literally all over the world, which we never would be able to do before.
But suddenly it was like, okay, we actually have to come up with a system of how we're going to, like, between the 4 of us, like pin down the final 6. What was originally going to only be 3. So it was also about like how the projects worked in relation to each other, because obviously we wanted diversity within like the projects themselves, what they seemed like they might turn into.
I think this whole year, actually, weirdly, we've really started to define who we are as a company. And in having so many submissions and having that much choice, we were able to think, actually, what do we want to present? What do we want to make this festival as a part of our identity? What kind of shows do we want to put on? What kind of sort of blueprint do we want to have for the theatre that we make, which was really exciting. And also in running the festival as we're doing it at the moment, working out how we want to be as a company, how we collaborate with people.
I think what we've always come back to with the things we do is we just want to collaborate all the time. We want to meet people, we want to get ideas, we want to do things on a very equal footing with everyone. And I think that the best way to do that and to meet new people and get their ideas is open call outs every time.
So how have you found it being in lockdown, being part of such a creative team? Do you think it's made you like jolt yourself into being creative maybe?
It's been amazing to have so much creativity between the four of us and reaching out to other people and getting them involved in, because it's given us, or definitely me, like some momentum and some drive.
Because we are all quite close, and you know, we're all willing to give and take with each other. So yeah, we do have sort of roles and responsibilities that we've decided to take up, but also, you know, if it was, you know, so I work and the other girls are studying, if someone goes, you know what, look, I've got loads of deadlines coming in 2 weeks, can you do this for me instead? You know, there is a lot of give and take, which just makes working together on anything such an easier time.
I think sometimes I feel like actually crying when I think about it, because like I feel like Tablespoon has, like, at least personally, but I'm sure it's like that for everyone, but it's given me something to look forward to during this year. And you know, it's something outside of uni that you don't have to do. You do it because you actually want to do it and you enjoy doing it. And I think, you know, working with such like an amazing team, it definitely makes it all worth it. And you know, it's been a learning process for us as well, because you know, we don't pretend to be like this big massive company and we know everything about the industry at all. You know, we're like learning together and we're learning as we go. And I think ironically, like the pandemic really brought us together and helped us shape how we work together and what our roles are. And so I'm just grateful that, you know, we still got to do what we love to do together, despite everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely important to have like an ethos and something that you all agree with and that you can all work towards, because it's so recognizable, you know, like knowing this company for like a year now, you recognize and you know what they're going to produce. And obviously a lot of the themes throughout some of these plays and throughout some of these exhibition pieces are quite heavy, quite dark themes. And how have you found, because you've been partnering up with different creators, haven't you, how have you found that partnership between the different plays? Do you think that's helped with some of the themes?
We decided we weren't going to direct or anything, any of the pieces really, because we thought that we wanted it to be like just a big chance to collaborate. So what we decided instead was that we would partner with 1 or 2 pieces each, and it'd be kind of like a producer role, I suppose, but it was more just so that you're meeting with that team on a weekly basis. You're there to support them if they need anything. You're there to bounce ideas back, give them feedback, and also just to make it feel as much as it can, despite it not being a live event where you're meeting people face to face and rehearsing and all that, making it have that sort of feel of collaboration and feel of networking.
Having an individual, so the partner who's there to essentially facilitate like the sense of community within the projects, and who was part of Tablespoon as a whole, so could kind of feedback and make sure that like everyone was having a nice time, basically.
So how have you found building sort of professional and creative relationships? Have you found it fun?
It's been so fun. I think what's great is, obviously, as has been touched on before, we do this purely for the love and the passion for it. So we put in a lot of time because we really care. And what's been lovely about Potluck is everyone else also has put in a lot of time because they care. And you're sharing so much passion and energy and excitement and creativity about your projects. And it resonates across the screen. And that is such a like infectious energy. And it's been really, really lovely creating these bonds with people and facilitating other connections. And so they're also getting to know each other, and they're also like collaborating, and being a part of that whole process is like, it's very cheesy, but it is really rewarding, and it's really, really lovely. I definitely feel like we as a company as well, but you know, have met people who I would want to work with again, who I want to see their work, I want to see them flourish.
I've had a few mixes now. I'm going to have one We actually just had our final one yesterday, and we're going to have one after it goes live on the 26th or 28th of March, where everyone involved, I think there's 38 contributors in total. All of us have a Zoom, which sounds horrific, but it's actually quite nice. And just checking in. I think from the top, the first one, we said, look, this is supposed to be a project about having fun. And if you're not having fun anymore, if it's become a burden, just tell us, and we will do what we can to alleviate that burden. Because we don't want anyone to be involved in anything and not be enjoying it. So that's something that we said from the top. And so far, no one's contacted. So either they're hating it in silence or they're just enjoying it.
Yeah. And I think it's also really nice to, go on social media and see people's stories working on their projects or working together on their projects. And I don't know, I'm always sharing it with the girls, and I'm like, look, there's a bro in here. This is fantastic.
I know you're not really directing it, but you're producing it. How have you found sort of curating and making sure they're going in the direction that you think they want to go in? Do you know what I mean? Making sure it's going successfully, I suppose.
So we're each partnered with our own projects, and it's interesting seeing we all have a unique approach, but this idea that the festival works for the projects aren't working for us. So we facilitate whatever is best for the project. It really has been great seeing the individuality of our approaches to each of the projects. We really haven't got a company approach. There is an individual approach for each project.
Yeah, I think each project kind of fits on with who we are artistically as well. So we've paired it that way on purpose. I think when I speak for myself, that I work with Florence on Medusa and Katie on Self-Portrait, I think they really speak to me because they're quite physical, and I know that I'm quite physical as an artist. And Ellie with design and graphics, when she's working on Small Time Payback, and it just makes sense that way. So we were really careful to pick and choose who we were going to work with and where it was going to go. But that doesn't mean that we also don't cross over with other projects as well. So the other day, Eduardo asked the rest of us to watch Casa Terra from feedback. So we're still working with everyone, but obviously you've got that more personal and individual approach with some of the projects that you're producing yourself.
So from a promotional standpoint, obviously we know when it's going to be now, and the deadline's sort of looming. What in a snapshot can people expect? I know there's a lot to expect. There's a lot of different things going on, but if you could kind of sum it up.
We're not trying to mimic a live festival, because we did toy around with that idea. We were like, do we actually have the plays premiere at the same time, so everyone watching is watching at the same time? And then we thought, well, why try and mimic a live thing when digital has its own advantages, and why don't we just make the most of them? So what it is, when you get the link, so you get a ticket, you'll get a link, and that'll give you access to the festival for 3 days. And over those 3 days, you can access anything at any point, watch it as many times as you like, experience it, but it's very much up to the individual viewer to navigate their own way through it.
At this stage in our in our company's journey, we could never, or it would be a lot harder for us to be able to, for example, afford venue hire, where we've got 6 different spaces that we've somehow got in a one building that people can go through. So that's something that we wouldn't be able to do at this stage in a physical sense, but the virtual platform enables us to essentially have an infinite number of ways that we could have chosen to do this.
How is it feeling coming up to the final date?
I think obviously it's stressful. And we're kind of in the eye of the storm a little bit at the moment, where there's this kind of sense of calm. But I know definitely for my projects, I'm not worried. They've been working really, really hard. And to be honest, none of the projects are behind. It'll be stressful just because it always is. But there isn't any, at this stage, there really aren't any major concerns. The projects have been working so hard and have been creating just amazing stuff.
Yeah, and also stress comes from stuff that you're passionate about. If
exactly.
when you're passionate about something, you are going to get worried, you are going to get nervous. I'm really excited to see how it's going to end up, and I just know it's going to be amazing.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much for talking to me. It was a lovely talking to you all, seeing all your faces.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you for speaking to us.
Yeah, thank you so much.